I just love listening to him and his watch, the number of different play on words of the word love of UNC's player named Love was really enjoyable. And then you just add in a touch of the Spinarkle, and it really is just a terrific listen. He is the broadcaster, Ian Eagle, back here in the Rich Eisen Show. How you doing, Ian?
You have clearly had a lot of proud Peacock representation already.
Yes, sir.
Peter King and
Yes,
Mike
sir.
Florio, and now I'm kind of an unofficial Peacock.
Yes, sir.
With the St. Peter's run. So it's my honor and my pleasure to be on the program.
You're Peacock adjacent after, I think, calling that game.
Yes.
Ian.
I'm going to put that on my business card.
Man, I thought, I was, obviously hoping for a better game, but UNC is just quite a remarkable story in its own right. What was your front row seat, literal, figurative view of it, Ian?
Yeah, we obviously went in with the idea that maybe these guys just don't feel any fear or any stress and any intimidation going against blue blood programs. What they did against Kentucky, the win over Murray State, that was mid-major against mid-major, and then the victory over Purdue, that was really a shocker based on the fact that the Boilermakers had time to prepare for them, had tape to watch, had a feel for what they were going to do, and just had so much raw size, and still St. Peter's found a way to win. We saw Dan Gavitt just before the game got underway. He made a great point when we asked his opinion on the matchup, and he said UNC, although this is not a normal role for them, they've kind of had that underdog mentality the last few weeks. They were on the bubble. They finished the ACC season strong. They obviously got the win at Duke at Cameron, and then the showing in the ACC tournament. And that mentality probably put them in a better frame of mind than Kentucky or Purdue when they played St. Peter's, because so much was expected of them, and both teams thought they had a chance to win a national championship. So in this particular matchup, they may have benefited St. Peter's by going against UCLA than North Carolina, in just the idea that they could still maybe sneak up on someone despite everything they accomplished. UNC, they've already been through the roller coaster of emotions this year, and they're just getting stronger and stronger as they go. I thought they were lights out. They were money. They were impressive from the word go. They looked like one of the best teams in the country.
And that game against Duke, I mean, my gosh, you can't make it up. You cannot make up that matchup. I mean, I said at the top of the show, it's like Packers-Bears in the NFC Championship game, Yankees-Red Sox in the ALCS. This is it. It's go time. Unreal.
Yeah, it's a dream matchup. And it's funny, when these things come about and you start getting the notes and the nuggets that are connected to it, you do a double take. So I'm doing my prep, and you would just assume that you know this already, being a sports fan. But they have never played in the NCAA tournament. You write that down on your prep sheet. You say, how? How is that possible with the history between these two programs, with the legacy of greatness? You would just assume somewhere along the line they would have played in a Sweet 16, in an Elite Eight, in a Final Four, in a national championship game. No, they were only in the same Final Four once, 1991. Didn't play one another. That was, of course, the Duke-UNLV semifinal matchup, the retribution game, and it was Kansas, the remnants of the Danny and the Miracle squad that played North Carolina in the other semi. Kansas advanced, and we know Duke advanced. Duke won the national championship. That was the first of many for Mike Krzyzewski. So the fact that it's happening now in Coach K's final year, that it was unexpected from a UNC standpoint, and then add that additional layer of what happened in Coach K's final home game as a coach, the way UNC took over the game, embarrassed Duke at the end, and all of the alums, former players that are standing there and had to watch it with the rest of the crowd, dumbfounded. It just adds a whole other vibe to this semifinal matchup. It's nirvana. It's college basketball nirvana. This is the kind of stuff you root for.
And so, yeah, I guess when you think about it, Ian, that if a team is like, if Duke and Carolina are both, seeded 1 or 2 in different regions,
Yep.
it stands to reason like they wouldn't meet, right? Just for merely unless they get to the same Final Four. So you got one now seeded 8th. It would make sense that Duke and Carolina could play each other at some point in the Sweet 16. But the fact is that they're coming from different parts of the bracket is unbelievable. And as you pointed out, the Cameron Indoor setup, I'm kind of sitting here wondering, like, if that gives UNC more confidence in a game like this, or Duke has a revenge angle they normally wouldn't have. You know what I mean? To erase that. Those kids who might be terribly upset and saw Coach K sort of admonish the crowd for cheering when he's like that was a bad performance. I'm wondering if these kids will now use that as a clarion call to erase that by winning this game, you know?
Excellent question. You know, the other part of the equation is the fact that the committee, for all of these years, I think they've tried to avoid having Duke and UNC play in early rounds because of the history between the two, because they're coming from the same conference. They really do make an effort to try to avoid those kinds of matchups early, because the tournament is supposed to be about other matchups, new rivalries that emerge based on the NCAA tournament. Everything you laid out is 100% true. You get to this stage, and I think each team probably has their own narrative of what it is that's motivating them at this point. The disrespect that UNC was feeling, the fact that Hubert Davis was being questioned early in his coaching tenure after replacing a legend in Roy Williams. They got crushed by Kentucky. It was an embarrassing nationally televised game by 20-plus points. They lost to Purdue rather handily. There were these little markers along the way that led us to believe that North Carolina wasn't a legitimate team this year, and yet they came together and found chemistry at the most important time. And then for Duke, all the expectations, you're looking at future NBA stars on the team, and you start questioning, well, maybe it's just not the right mix, or maybe they just don't have that fire lit inside them. That was the concern watching that UNC Duke game at Cameron. Nobody seemed to want it. And I know they wanted it for Mike K, but they couldn't seem to make it happen on the court. There were shots being passed up in the final 3.5 minutes, and nobody really stepped forward. And all that has changed in the NCAA tournament, whether that flipped the switch or that opened their eyes, or they just needed to get past that moment with all of those great Duke players in attendance, and it spooked them out. Who knows? Whatever it is, they're playing at such an exceptionally high level, and they did get tested. It's not like they've plowed through the first 4 rounds of the tournament. We have seen them pushed a little bit. So to me, that's a really good sign for Duke as well, that they come in battle-tested for this Final Four and everything that is going to come with it, which is a great deal of media attention. They're going to feel the weight of the Final Four and Coach K's legacy talked about for the next 5 days ad infinitum.
So how many games of St. Peter's did you have? Just the one?
I had all of them.
You had all of them.
I was like the unofficial soundtrack for the Peacock. And let me tell you, it was glorious. It was a tremendous story. The first game against Kentucky, you know how this works, Rich. There's phases to an upset. When you look at the anatomy of an NCAA tournament upset, the first phase is, all right, can they hang? Is this going to be 16-2 at the end of 6 minutes in the game, or is it going to be 9-6 in that first timeout and they absorb the first punch? So that's the first phase. They pass that loud and clear. The second phase is, well, can they really compete? Can this be a competitive game? Is this going to spill over into the second half and it's a 1-possession, 2-possession game? And are they going to give the higher seed something to think about, something to be nervous about? And then the third phase is, can they actually win? Because we've seen a bunch of lower seeds push a blue blood to the brink of elimination, but then the future NBA standout takes over, or the ball bounces their way, and the lower seed is left forlorn and walking off the court thinking what could have been. And they passed all 3 of those tests, that final test, overtime against Kentucky. You just assume, well, the Wildcats will take over. They got 10,000 fans in Indy. They're going to feel the buzz of the crowd, and who they are is going to emerge, and the number 2 seed will advance. They'll have been pushed, but they'll survive it. They didn't. St. Peter's never blinked. It was wild to watch. And then to draw Murray State in the second round, where they thought, oh, wait, we can play with these guys. This isn't out of the realm for the Peacocks to advance against the team that also has been questioned about where they fit into the grand landscape. So it really was a blast, and you could feel it building, where people started Googling, where is St. Peter's University? I think most people had no idea. They're filling out a bracket like, oh, yeah, Kentucky St. Peter's. Where is that? Virginia? Wisconsin? Where is that? It's New Jersey. It's Jersey City. And, Rich, if you drove right now through Jersey City
yes.
and passed by the university, you may miss it. There might have been, you're like, wait, was that it? What? That one right there, that building? Yeah, that's it. Amazing.
I thought I saw a tweet that Kentucky might have players collectively have a collective, NIL haul more than the budget of the basketball program at St. Peter's.
I would not doubt that at all.
That's what I saw.
I saw some other tweets that talked about the finances. John Calipari is one of the highest paid coaches in college basketball. He certainly earned it with what he's done through the years, but I believe his salary is in the range of $8 million, and I believe the entire sports budget at St. Peter's might be $7.5 million.
Tell me you had an opportunity to do a promo for a show on TNT and say that they know Drum A during one of those games.
No,
you did not.
I didn't, because
you didn't have
the
that
thing, Rich. Every one of our games. This is the first time in my career.
Yes.
Every one of our games was on CBS. We had 9 games.
Wow.
All of them were on CBS. So there was no drame. There was more Abashola. I had to make a choice, and I read the card. That's what I do.
But still, so Ian, are you saying I think you made CBS history then, if I'm not mistaken, because
I've at least tied a record.
Well, I just don't. Yeah. I don't know if Nance has ever done a promo for Cash Nasty House of Highlights. I mean, the way you did the House of Highlights Cash Nasty promo was. I wrote it down. I even wrote it down because I was left so impressed by how you just weaved it all together.
Yeah.
Ian, on CBS.
The scary part is, I know we're half joking here, but I do care. It matters to me
because you're a pro
that I read these correctly and I make either the sponsor happy or the network happy. I don't know when that was embedded in my brain that was important in this job, but trust me, I was getting texts during, and I'm shocked you didn't reach out. I thought you would during a couple of these reads. And some of them were like, you have no idea what you're reading right now. And it's true. I had little to no idea, but I sold it damn well.
Yes, you did. I bought it. Figuratively, I don't know if I'll get the Cash Nasty House of Highlights.
No, I get it.
I don't know do we know who Cash Nasty is? Do we know yet? Have we? Wow, TJ, you're shaking your head. We have no idea. Okay, very good. Because honestly, I thought it was like a new show on CBS or something like that.
Might be with G Unit. I'm not sure.
An all new Cash Nasty. Before I let you go, sir, do Ian Eagle here on the Rich Eisen Show. Do we see Ben Simmons soon? What do we see in Brooklyn with Ben Simmons? What do you think?
Yeah, mixed messages. It sounds like he's feeling a little better. The back issue is legitimate, and it is a disc problem. And then he was having problems down his leg as well. So whatever feeling there was in the lower back had continued into the lower extremities. I think they're still encouraged that he's going to be able to play at some point, but they're running out of time. There just are not a whole lot of games left. We're talking about 2 weeks left in the regular season. So the big term that we hear around the NBA is the ramp up. And this has been a very long ramp up for Ben Simmons. They don't believe that it's going to be an issue integrating him, but until you see him with Kyrie, with KD, with the rest of the team, it's hard to evaluate what they're going to be. The crazy part, Rich, they could get clipped in the play-in round, They could if they go against a hot player or a hot team or the circumstances aren't to their advantage, or they could win the whole thing.
Yes.
Like, the parameters are really wide right now for this team, which I think for the NBA is actually intriguing, and that's part of the reason why you have this playing round, to get more fan bases around the country interested in this and create more opportunities for a team to go on a run.
Yeah, I would proffer to say Trae Young might be the last person they'd want to see in the play-in game.
No part of that guy in a one-game format. Everything that I just learned and all these years of doing the NCAA tournament,
yes,
one game,
yes,
anything can happen.
Oh, my goodness gracious. But, I mean, Seth Curry was a heck of an addition, and Andre Drummond has certainly come to the fore, right? Aldridge is coming back, and I don't know, there's no such thing as a ceremonial, first tip, but if there was, I think they'd have the mayor of New York come and provide it, right? If there's such a thing.
That's rather interesting, yes. I think they still feel confident that they can play with anybody, and if they get their team out there in time to do this, that they could go on a run and win the whole thing. But it's hard to make that proclamation when you just haven't seen it consistently. The Phoenix Suns show you every time that they play, with Chris Paul, without Chris Paul. They have championship mettle. This team is motivated, highly motivated, to prove that what they're doing in the regular season is real and it's going to translate in the postseason. The Nets have had such an odd, obscure regular season that I have no idea what the carryover is going to be if they can just flip the switch and turn it on for the playoffs. They have Kevin Durant, so they're going to be able to compete with anybody. But can they win it? Can they win 4 games in 4 straight series amidst what has been a highly inconsistent regular season?
So then,
that's the question.
So then the last one for you is, which is the best team you've seen with your own 2 eyes calling games for the Nets? Who do you?
I mean, I've seen the Suns in person, and I'm just thoroughly impressed with their confidence level and the level in which they execute, and also the coaching dynamic with the players, Chris Paul's leadership, all of that. They've been the most impressive team I've seen, but I've seen Boston playing at a really high level. The Robert Williams injury is a big hit today. I've seen Milwaukee play at a ridiculously high level when everything's clicking. I saw Philadelphia roll in an impressive performance. I've seen Utah play excellent basketball. I just think it's a fun backdrop right now in the NBA that you don't have the guarantee team that you say, that's it, no one's touching them. There are enough debates that can go on, especially in the Eastern Conference, that we might see a surprise team emerge here. Miami's going through some stuff, clearly.
Yes.
There's something going on there. So
I did not know. I honestly did not know the Jimmy Butler, Udonis Haslem, Eric Spoelstra set to was like an Oscars preview. I had no earthly idea,
That was legit. And then last night, while I got home from Philadelphia, happened to be watching that live that you're alluding to.
Yes, sir.
And there was a moment, it didn't take long for me, but there was a moment where you just think, oh, it's a bit. Like Chris Rock hung in there, and he didn't react. So, this must be the bit. And then the reaction after you realize this was not a bit.
You're a live TV guy, so you know the delay that when you know what dumping out of the live television feed and audio looks like, and that was one of the longest I've ever seen last night. Unreal.
Yeah, and when you get a text right afterwards from people who are like, check out the Japanese feed. I'm like, okay. Everything. I'm like, oh wow, they don't care. They dump nothing. It was crazy.
Yeah, no, Australia too. There's the Aussie rules. That was quite something.
Yeah, good day, mate. I was impressed.
Ian, it was just great listening to you and the rest of the crew on those calls. Really, just phenomenal. So entertaining, so enjoyable, and I always appreciate you chiming in here on this program.
Yeah, my pleasure, Rich. Jim Spinarco, Jamie Erdahl, great teammates, our whole crew, Craig Silver, Suzanne Smith, everybody just crushed it. And as you know, Spinarco, it's like Beetlejuice. If you say it 3 times quickly, you disappear. So don't do that.
I've said it once. You said it once. I think we're on the razor's edge. So
don't say it 3 times. Don't test fate.
Thanks for the call, Ian. Appreciate it.
All right. See you guys.
Ian Eagle, the one and only, right here on the Rich Eisen Show. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.